What if we told you that the music world just lost one of its quiet geniuses? Perry Bamonte, the talented guitarist and keyboardist for The Cure, has passed away at the age of 65, and fans around the globe are pouring their hearts out at his funeral. But behind the grief and tributes lies a story many never knew, a journey through fame, music, and secrets that shaped one of rock's most iconic bands. Stick around, because the truth about Perry Bamonte's life, career, and the shockwaves of his passing is more fascinating than you might expect. Perry Bamonte wasn't just a name in The Cure's lineup, he was a force behind some of the band's most iconic sounds. From the haunting keyboard riffs to the intricate guitar layers, his touch helped define a generation of alternative rock. But despite his contributions, many fans never knew the full story of the man behind the music. In this video, we're diving deep into Perry Bamonte's life, career, and the unexpected circumstances surrounding his passing at 65. We'll explore his early days, his rise to fame with The Cure, and the personal moments that shaped him both on and off stage. You'll also hear about the emotional reactions from fans worldwide and the details of his funeral that have left the music community in shock. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear picture of Perry Bamonte's legacy, what made him unforgettable, and why his death has shaken not just fans, but the entire music world. Perry Bamonte was born in 1963 in London, England, a city buzzing with musical energy in the 1960s and 70s. Growing up during a time when punk, post-punk, and new wave were reshaping the music scene, Perry was immersed in a world of guitars, synthesizers, and rebellious sound. From a young age, he displayed an extraordinary talent for music, quickly mastering multiple instruments including guitar and keyboard, skills that would later define his career with The Cure. As a teenager, Perry wasn't just playing for fun. He was crafting a sound that would eventually resonate on global stages. Friends and teachers noticed his natural ability to blend melodies with emotion, and it wasn't long before he started performing in local bands around London. These early experiences weren't just practice, they were shaping his musical identity, teaching him how to connect with audiences and showing him the dedication it would take to succeed in the competitive world of professional music. What set Perry apart wasn't just technical skill, it was his sensitivity to sound. While many young musicians focused on flashy solos or dramatic performances, Perry had a knack for subtlety. He could create moods and textures that drew listeners in without ever overwhelming them. This rare combination of technical skill and emotional intelligence would later become his trademark in The Cure, earning him respect from both bandmates and fans alike. But just as Perry was beginning to make a name for himself in the London music scene, an opportunity appeared that would change his life forever. A chance connection with one of the most influential alternative rock bands of the era would catapult him into the global spotlight. And it all started with a single audition that almost didn't happen. Perry Bamonte's entry into The Cure wasn't an overnight success. It was a story of timing, talent, and trust. In the early 1980s, The Cure was already making waves in the post-punk scene, with their unique blend of dark, moody melodies and poetic lyrics capturing the hearts of fans worldwide. But the band was also evolving, and the need for fresh energy and musical versatility was becoming clear. In 1987, Perry was invited to join The Cure as a keyboardist, initially as a supporting member, filling in during live performances and studio sessions. At first, some fans questioned his addition. After all, The Cure already had established members with loyal followings. But Perry's quiet confidence and undeniable skill quickly silenced skeptics. His ability to switch seamlessly between keyboards and guitar gave the band a new flexibility in both live shows and recording sessions. One of the most remarkable aspects of Perry's early career with The Cure was how he contributed without seeking the spotlight. Unlike many musicians who crave attention, Perry focused on the music itself. He layered haunting keyboard lines beneath Robert Smith's iconic vocals, added intricate guitar textures that deepened the band's sound, and brought a sense of musical maturity that complemented The Cure's evolving style. Songs from this era, tracks like Lullaby and Just Like Heaven during live performances, bore his signature touch. Even if many listeners didn't know his name challenges, the pressures of life in a globally recognized band were intense. Endless tours, recording schedules, and media scrutiny took their toll. Perry often spoke in interviews about the balance he had to maintain, staying true to his artistic vision while also navigating the complex dynamics of a band with decades of history. There were moments of tension with other members, creative disagreements, and the constant weight of fan expectations. Yet through it all, he remained a stabilizing force, quietly shaping the sound that would define a generation. By the early 1990s, Perry had become more than just a supporting musician. He was integral to The Cure's identity. His contributions weren't just technical, they were emotional. Fans began noticing the depth he brought to the music, the subtle nuances that elevated songs from good to unforgettable. And just when it seemed like Perry had found his rhythm within the band, a twist in his career would change everything. A move that shocked the music world and hinted at the challenges behind the scenes. By the early 1990s, Perry Bamonte had firmly established himself as more than just a member of The Cure. He was a creative force whose work helped define the band's sound during one of its most influential periods. As the group transitioned from post-punk roots into a more expansive alternative rock identity, Perry's musicianship became central to their evolving style. His dual role as guitarist and keyboardist allowed The Cure to experiment with textures, moods, and live arrangements in ways that had never been possible before. One of Perry's most notable contributions was during the recording of the band's 1989 album, Disintegration. Widely regarded as one of The Cure's masterpieces, the album featured dark, ethereal soundscapes and deeply emotional tracks that resonated with fans across generations. Perry's keyboard layers added haunting depth to songs like Pictures of You and Love Song, while his guitar work provided subtle yet impactful counterpoints to Robert Smith's vocals. Behind the scenes, his meticulous attention to detail in arranging and layering instruments helped ensure that the album's complex sound never felt overcrowded, a testament to his skill and musical intuition. Perry's talents weren't limited to the studio. On stage, he became a vital part of The Cure's live performances, which were known for their intensity and emotional resonance. Fans quickly noticed how his presence elevated the band's concerts, with his intricate guitar riffs and atmospheric keyboard melodies creating moments of awe-inspiring beauty. Some of the band's most iconic performances, including appearances at major festivals like Glastonbury and Lollapalooza, were enhanced by Perry's artistry, leaving audiences mesmerized. But fame didn't come without its shadows. The pressures of international tours, media attention, and the intense scrutiny of fans weighed heavily on Perry and the band. There were whispers of tension within the group, creative disagreements, the stress of maintaining a public image, and the personal sacrifices required to sustain such a high-profile career. Yet, Perry remained remarkably grounded, earning respect not just for his musical contributions, but also for his professionalism, humility, and dedication to the craft. As the 1990s progressed, Perry's role expanded further. He wasn't just playing music, he was shaping the band's direction. Collaborations with Robert Smith on new material revealed Perry's versatility. His ability to shift between melodic, dreamy passages and more aggressive, edgy riffs showcased a depth that few in the band possessed. Fans and critics alike began to recognize that while Robert Smith was the face of The Cure, Perry Bamonte's influence on their sound was undeniable. However, just as Perry's star seemed to rise within the band, an unexpected twist would soon alter the trajectory of his career. Internal changes, shifting dynamics, and decisions from the band's leadership would ultimately leave fans shocked and spark questions about what had truly been happening behind the scenes. The story of Perry Bamonte wasn't just about music. It was about loyalty, creativity, and the complex human drama that often accompanies fame. Despite his growing influence and undeniable talent, Perry Bamonte's journey with The Cure was not without turbulence. Behind the mesmerizing music and sold-out tours lay a world of complex band dynamics, creative disagreements, and personal challenges that would test even the most seasoned musicians. By the late 1990s, whispers of tension had begun to circulate, not in tabloids, but in the music community itself, among fans and insiders who noticed subtle shifts in the band's chemistry. The Cure in 2005 came as a shock to many. He had been a steady presence for nearly 2 decades, contributing to some of the band's most iconic albums, from Disintegration to Blood Flowers. Yet, despite his dedication, internal restructuring within the band led to difficult decisions. Some sources suggest that evolving artistic visions and the desire for new directions prompted Robert Smith and other members to make changes that affected long-standing members like Perry. For someone who had given so much of his life to the band, the decision was heartbreaking, not just for him, but for fans who had come to associate his sound with The Cure's signature style. Beyond the professional challenges, Perry faced the personal toll of life in a band as influential as The Cure. Long tours meant time away from family and friends, and the relentless public attention left little room for privacy. He had always maintained a relatively low profile, avoiding the tabloids and social media controversies that ensnared some of his contemporaries. But this quiet professionalism sometimes meant that his contributions were overlooked or underappreciated outside the inner circles of the music world. Fans remember his exit with a mix of sadness and respect. Many expressed outrage online, questioning why a musician who had played such a pivotal role in the band's history would be let go. Others reflected on how the band's sound changed afterward, noting the absence of Perry's subtle, emotive layers that had added depth to both live performances and studio recordings. It was clear that his presence had been more than just musical, it was emotional. He had been part of the heartbeat of The Cure for nearly 20 years, and his departure left a tangible void. Yet Perry's story after leaving the band was not one of defeat. He continued to make music privately, collaborating with other artists and exploring projects that allowed him creative freedom without the pressures of fame. Those who followed him noticed a different kind of artistry emerging, one that was deeply personal, reflective, and unrestrained by commercial expectations. It was a side of Perry Bamonte that few had seen before, a glimpse into the man behind the enigmatic stage presence. But just as fans were beginning to celebrate his quiet resilience and continued contributions to music, another shock hit the community. News that would reverberate across the globe and bring an outpouring of grief and reflection. Perry Bamonte, the man whose music had inspired millions, had passed away at the age of 65. The details surrounding his death, the emotional reactions, and the funeral ceremonies would reveal just how deeply he had touched those around him and leave fans asking questions about the legacy he had quietly built over decades.